Welcome the Lord's chosen. Some blessings don't knock. They just walk in wearing ordinary faces. There are moments in life where you think you're just being nice, offering help, giving directions, lending a listening ear. Nothing dramatic, nothing worth a headline. Yet somewhere in the shadows of destiny, your kindness was rewriting a billionaire's fate. You didn't just offer a hand, you unknowingly touched an empire. What if I told you that a quiet act of compassion you gave without second thought might be the exact reason wealth, favor, and opportunities are now circling back to you with divine precision? Because sometimes the people who look the most ordinary carry extraordinary influence, and the ones who appear to have it all are often the ones praying for a genuine soul to remind them that humanity still exists. Statistically, billionaires encounter thousands of people a year, yet remember only a handful, not the ones who flatter them, not the ones who flatter them, not the ones who want something, but the ones who gave without calculation. You might have thought you were helping a stranger find their way, but in reality, you were helping a powerful person find their faith again. See, kindness is the one investment that never tells you the return date. It just matures quietly like divine stock accumulating interest in heaven's vault. And when it finally pays off, it doesn't knock gently. It kicks the door down with blessings that look suspiciously like poetic justice. So buckle up, chosen one, because this isn't some good karma story. This is what happens when a pure heart unknowingly saves a soul that could buy the world but was bankrupt inside. Your kindness didn't go unnoticed. It was recorded, and the universe is now ready to pay you back with interest and a little extra flair. Number one, you never helped for recognition. That's why the universe recognized you. You never helped because you wanted applause or a camera moment. You did it because it felt right, even when no one was watching, even when it didn't benefit you in any visible way. That's what separates you from most people. You weren't trying to build a reputation. You were living your nature, and the universe always takes note of those who act from truth, not performance. When kindness becomes your instinct instead of your strategy, it carries a power that can't be replicated. You didn't check who was watching. You didn't calculate whether it would come back to you. And you didn't post it online for validation. You simply showed up with hot, raw, unfiltered, unbranded. That's why your reward will come from directions you never expected. Real compassion doesn't make noise, but it echoes. The energy you gave away quietly was never wasted. It was recorded. Every selfless act, every moment you extended grace when you could have turned away, became a spiritual signature that marked you as different. You gave light without a receipt, and that's exactly why the universe decided to return it with interest. The truth is, most people give to be seen. You gave to heal, to help, to lift, and when you do that, the law of divine balance steps in. It doesn't need a calendar or announcement. It just waits for the perfect moment to show you that goodness never expires. Now that moment has arrived. The same way you quietly blessed others, life is about to quietly bless you. Except this time, the scale of what's coming will make the silence you served in feel thunderous. Because when your heart's been pure all along, the reward doesn't just match the deed, it multiplies it. You didn't help to be recognized, but that's exactly why heaven recognized you first. Number two, you didn't just save a person. You shifted a timeline. What you thought was a simple act of kindness wasn't small at all. You didn't just help someone, you altered the direction of their entire life. A decision that took you seconds to make might have reset years of pain, confusion, or loneliness in someone else. When you stepped in to help, you didn't realize you were touching the thread that connected to a much bigger story. One that stretched far beyond that moment. The universe hides massive turning points inside ordinary encounters. A kind word, a favor, or a small gesture can break a cycle of despair that money, therapy, or power couldn't fix. That's what happened when you stepped in. Your compassion became a reset button, one that rerouted not only a person's day, but their destiny. And the most profound part is you didn't even know it. You just did what came naturally, and destiny adjusted itself around your decision. There are events that shift history quietly. You don't hear a sound, but the vibration spreads. That's what your kindness did. You moved one human being out of the path of self-destruction and unknowingly protected everything and everyone connected to them, their family, their employees, their future. That's not coincidence. That's divine engineering working through your humanity. The billionaire you helped might never forget that day. It may have been the moment they decided to see life differently, to rebuild, to give back, or to change how they use their influence. That one act could have saved thousands of lives, indirectly. You became the ripple that started a wave far bigger than yourself, and now the same energy is circling back. When you shift timelines for others, the universe shifts timelines for you. You moved someone out of darkness without realizing it, and now life is rearranging itself to move you into your light. Number 3, the billionaire you helped wasn't random. They were a divine mirror. The encounter wasn't by chance. Life doesn't place people in your path without a reason, especially those whose stories carry influence and reach. That person you helped, the one who seemed ordinary at the time, was a reflection of something bigger. They were sent not just to receive kindness, but to reveal something about who you truly are. They mirrored your hidden strength, your quiet power, and your ability to lead with integrity when no one's keeping score. It's easy to think you crossed paths by coincidence, but divine timing doesn't work that way. Some meetings are appointments written long before you realize you're in one. The billionaire didn't appear because they needed saving. They appeared because you needed to see how effortlessly your spirit changes lives, even those who seem untouchable. You were never the lesser one in that exchange. You were the reminder that power without compassion is empty. The universe sometimes disguises a lesson as a person. You didn't know their status, and that was the point. You treated them with sincerity, not status. That revealed something rare, that your heart can't be bought, influenced, or tricked by titles. It showed that your empathy is genuine, not selective. That's what makes you different. You see people, not positions. You serve humanity, not hierarchy. What you didn't realize is that your kindness spoke louder than wealth ever could. It shook something in them, reminded them what real value feels like. They may have had everything the world could offer, but you carried what the world can't manufacture: authenticity. That moment became a mirror for both of you, for them to rediscover humility and for you to recognize your worth. That's why it wasn't random. The encounter wasn't luck, it was alignment. God used that meeting to prove that the spirit in you carries influence beyond titles, and that sometimes the person with the least power in appearance holds the most power in truth. Number 4, the real transaction was spiritual, not financial. What happened that day wasn't about wealth, value, or status. It was about energy. You didn't transfer money. You transferred something much deeper: sincerity, care, and humanity. That's the kind of currency that never loses value, the kind that operates in a higher economy than this world understands. When you gave your time, your presence, or your help, you made a spiritual deposit that will yield a return greater than any financial gain ever could. The world measures worth by numbers, but heaven measures it by intention. You didn't help for credit. You helped because your spirit responded to someone's need. That response carried energy, a vibration of compassion that doesn't disappear after the moment ends. It travels, it multiplies, and it returns. You didn't just uplift a person, you lifted the entire atmosphere around them, and that shift set in motion opportunities and alignments that money alone could never buy. When you operate from a pure heart, you tap into divine circulation. That's the kind of system where nothing given in truth goes to waste. What you offered may have looked small to others, but in the spiritual realm, it was a transaction of great value. It opened invisible doors, doors that connect people, blessings, and moments you haven't even reached yet, you might see. Others hustling, forcing, or scheming for success. But your reward is arriving through grace, not grind. Because while money moves through hands, energy moves through destinies. The compassion you gave freely became a seed planted in the soil of divine timing. It's been growing silently, and now it's about to show its harvest. You didn't trade goods or sign papers. You made an exchange of spirit. That's why your blessings won't come from who you helped. They'll come from the source that witnessed. You gave from the heart, and the universe took note. Now, heaven's return on investment is about to reach you, and it pays in miracles, not money. Number 5, you passed a test that most would have failed. Life has a way of testing people without announcing the exam. Sometimes it dresses the test in weakness, inconvenience, or humility, just to see what's really inside your heart. When that moment came, the universe disguised abundance as vulnerability. The person you helped didn't look powerful, important, or valuable on the surface, but that was intentional. It was a divine setup, a test of your character, not your convenience, and you passed it without even realizing it. Most people would have turned away, too busy or too suspicious to care. They would have measured the situation by what they could gain from it, scanning for a reward before deciding to act. But you didn't do the math. You did what was right. You responded from a place of compassion instead of calculation. That single decision separated you from the crowd and identified you as someone the universe could trust with bigger things. Tests like that aren't about what you give. They're about what guides you. You showed that your values are not negotiable. You treated someone with dignity even when there was no audience, no recognition, no clear benefit. That's rare. And the universe remembers rare energy. It's the kind of integrity that can't be taught. It's built through experience, heartbreak, and growth. What's powerful about that test is how quiet it was. No fanfare, no spotlight, no warning. Just a moment that required a decision. You didn't hesitate, and that choice revealed your spiritual rank. You proved that your kindness isn't a costume. It's your core. And when heaven identifies a soul like that, it rearranges blessings accordingly. Now, the reward is not just coming, it's tailored, because you showed that your heart can be trusted with hidden treasure. You passed the test that most people would have failed. And for that reason, the next chapter of your life won't be a coincidence. It will be a divine consequence. Number 6, you showed grace to someone who could have bought the world but needed to feel humanity again. It's strange how the higher people climb, the lonelier the air becomes. Power has a way of surrounding itself with noise, assistants, advisors, admirers, yet leaving a person completely starved for something real. The billionaire you helped may have been drowning in success, carrying everything money could buy, but nothing the soul could feel. They were used to people showing up for what they owned, not for who they were. But you came along without a hidden motive. You offered kindness without an invoice attached, and that's what shook them. You didn't see their title. You saw their humanity. You didn't approach with flattery or fear. You came with presence, honesty, and compassion. And that small act did something money never could. It reminded those that they're still human, still worthy of real connection, not just transactions. For someone living behind walls built from wealth, your grace was a breath of fresh air. It didn't cost you anything, but it gave them something priceless. A reason to believe that not everyone wants something from them. When people reach a certain level of power, they lose touch with simplicity. Every smile they receive is strategic. Every friendship is filtered through self-interest. That's why your presence hit differently. You weren't impressed or intimidated. You were real. And realness has a healing effect. It resets the soul. It restores faith in people. It humbles even the most accomplished minds. What you did wasn't just kind. It was corrective. You balanced an equation that had been off for years. In that moment, your spirit became medicine to someone who didn't even know they were sick. You didn't just help them. You restored their ability to feel seen again. And that act, though quiet, will echo far beyond that day. Because sometimes the greatest healing doesn't come from a doctor or a deal. It comes from the grace of a genuine heart. Number 7, your reward was written before you even acted. Long before you showed that kindness, before the moment even unfolded, the reward for it was already written into your destiny. You didn't earn it after the act. The act simply activated what had been waiting for you all along. Life doesn't always operate on instant results. The universe works like a divine bank account, recording every good deed, every sincere gesture, every silent act of compassion, and storing it until the appointed time. That's why your blessings often take longer to appear, because they're not random payouts. They're perfectly timed releases. When you helped that person, it wasn't a coincidence. It was prophecy playing out. You didn't know it, but heaven already had a credit line open in your name. The kindness you showed wasn't just something you did. It was something you were destined to do, a part of the plan that would unlock what's been building behind the scenes for years. You didn't just give compassion. You triggered fulfillment. Divine timing isn't delayed timing. It's strategic. There's a reason your reward didn't show up right after your act of goodness. It had to mature. It had to grow in weight, influence, and alignment so that when it arrived, it wouldn't just bless you, it would elevate you. The universe doesn't release blessings when you want them. It releases them when you're ready to carry them. And now that moment has arrived. Every unnoticed act of kindness was a deposit. Every time you chose empathy over ego, you added value to your spiritual balance. And now the withdrawal notice has been sent. What's coming isn't luck. It's long-awaited proof that the unseen system of justice has perfect memory. You didn't have to chase your reward because it was written before the act, confirmed by your integrity, scheduled by divine timing. Now, the universe is about to cash in every receipt you never asked for and pay you back with interest you didn't even know you'd earned. Number 8, you became the proof that purity still exists in a corrupted world. In a world where people give only to get, your kindness stood out like a clean flame in a smoky room. Everywhere you look, motives have been monetized. Generosity is often staged. Compassion is often conditional, and honesty feels like an endangered virtue. Yet you kept doing good quietly without turning it into a performance. That's not weakness. That's proof that light still lives among us. You became living evidence that a pure heart can still thrive in a polluted system. You didn't follow the new rules of society, the ones that tell you to brand your goodness, record your empathy, or demand credit for being human. You chose the higher road, the one that doesn't need a witness to have worth, and that subtle rebellion against the world's. Cynicism is what made you different. When everyone else traded authenticity for attention, you stayed real. You didn't let disappointment harden you. You didn't let betrayal steal your softness. You kept your character intact. And that's a miracle in itself. The truth is, divine eyes are always searching for people like you, the ones who still act from heart, not agenda. You may not have realized it, but every moment you chose compassion over convenience, you became a testimony that goodness isn't extinct. Your quiet actions became a spiritual document, proof that not everyone has sold their soul to self-interest. That proof carries weight in unseen realms. And now that same purity that once made you feel misunderstood will become the very reason you're elevated. Because in a corrupted world, integrity has become the new rarity, and the universe always rewards rarity. You didn't just survive the darkness. You walked through it without letting it stain you. That alone made you divine. Evidence. The reminder that no matter how broken the world becomes, light still breathes, and you are its living proof. Number 9. You unknowingly became someone's turning point. You thought you were just being kind, doing what anyone decent would do. But that simple act reached further than you could see. It interrupted a pattern, broke a dark train of thought, and pulled someone back from a decision they might never have returned from. You didn't realize it, but that small moment became there. Pause, the space where hope could breathe again. Your kindness didn't just touch a person, it reactivated a destiny. There are moments when people are standing on quiet edges. Edges you can't see. They're smiling in public but sinking in private. They look composed, but inside they're seconds away from giving up on themselves, on people, on life. That's where your gesture came in. The way you treated them, the way you made them feel seen without judgment, might have been the very spark that stopped their descent. What you called nothing special became the pivot that turned their entire story around. What's extraordinary is that the person you helped wasn't just anyone. They carried influence, reach, and the ability to change lives. They just needed one reminder that good still exists. You gave them that. Your presence didn't just restore their spirit, it redirected their power. Because when a person with impact is healed, their healing spills over into everything they touch. By saving one heart, you are knowingly saved the future ripple of thousands more. That's what divine alignment looks like. The universe used your ordinary moment to create an extraordinary outcome. You didn't give a sermon. You gave sincerity. You didn't hand them answers. You handed them faith in humanity again. That was the reset they needed. And now, as their renewed purpose begins to influence others for good, the energy you started is cycling back to you, multiplied, elevated, and carrying the weight of every life your kindness indirectly saved. Number 10. The billionaire will repay you, but God will overpay you. The one you helped will show their gratitude, maybe through gifts, connections, or opportunities. But what's coming your way goes far beyond what any person can give, because while humans pay you back based on what they saw, God pays you back based on what He knows. You're not just about to receive compensation. You're about to receive confirmation that heaven's accounting system has been tracking every good seed you've sown. When people repay, they match what they think you deserve. But when God overpays, He multiplies it according to divine purpose. That's the difference. The billionaire can open doors, but God can rebuild your entire house. They can offer access, but God grants elevation. Their gratitude may change your season, but God's reward will change your life. That's because the blessing you're stepping into isn't transactional. It's transformational. You didn't help for profit. You helped from principle. And that's exactly why heaven has decided to make your return supernatural. What's coming your way won't make sense on paper. It won't fit into budgets or explanations. Because the kind of blessing assigned to genuine hearts doesn't just restore what was given. It multiplies everything connected to it. The billionaire's gratitude might touch your hands, but God's overpayment will touch your generations. It will come in ways that rewrite your story, elevate your name, and confirm that integrity still leads to increase. You planted sincerity, and you'll reap significance. You gave without knowing who you were helping, and now you're about to receive more than you could have ever imagined. So yes, they will repay you, and that will be beautiful. But what God is preparing is beyond beauty. It's divine balance. You're not about to just be thanked. You're about to be transformed. Because when heaven decides to overpay, even miracles start to look like receipts. Number 11. Your humility is the real magnet for miracles. You never tried to be seen. And that's exactly why heaven saw you. While others were busy curating moments for applause, you were living with quiet intention. You didn't do things to be noticed. You did them because it was the right thing to do. And in a world addicted to validation, that level of humility stands out like a signal only the divine can hear. You didn't chase blessings. You attracted them by simply being genuine. Pride repels grace, but humility pulls it in effortlessly. When your heart stays low, miracles have room to land. You never demanded acknowledgement, and that's what made your actions so powerful. The universe trusts the humble because it knows they won't corrupt the reward. You've shown time and again that your motives are clean. No hidden agendas, no performative kindness. That's why you're being positioned for a breakthrough that only pure souls can carry. The truth is, humility is a force field. It protects you from ego, from distraction, and from spiritual decay. It's why doors open for you that others tried to force. You didn't need to scheme or shout for attention. Your consistency spoke louder than any speech could. When heaven identifies someone who can hold power without pride, it starts pouring miracles in their direction, not as payment, but as partnership. Your humility told God, "You can trust me with more." And that quiet declaration has been echoing through your life ever since. You may not have the loudest voice, but you carry the strongest presence. The same way you've chosen peace over performance, heaven has chosen you for promotion. Because miracles aren't drawn to noise, they're drawn to purity. You didn't chase recognition, but now divine recognition is chasing you, and it's bringing with it the kind of favor that can't be explained, only lived. Number 12. You didn't just perform kindness. You demonstrated kingdom. What you did went far beyond being a good person. It wasn't random, emotional, or impulsive. It was spiritual alignment in action. Every time you chose compassion over convenience, forgiveness over ego, or grace over revenge, you were operating as an ambassador of something higher. You weren't just being kind. You were expressing the culture of heaven in a world that's forgotten what divine love looks like. That's what made your actions so powerful. They carried the weight of eternity in everyday form. When most people give, they expect a return. When you gave, you released heaven's energy into motion. Kindness for you was never about reputation. It was about representation. You represented something holy in human form, mercy in motion, grace wearing skin. The way you moved through your challenges, still choosing goodness when life gave you every reason to harden, was a silent sermon to those watching. You didn't quote scripture. You became it. That's what demonstrating kingdom truly means. You turned spiritual principles into living proof. You made love practical. You made forgiveness visible. And you made generosity contagious. And because of that, you set a vibration loose in the atmosphere. Heaven's frequency broadcasts through your behavior. Energy like that doesn't fade. It circulates. It travels through people, through opportunities, through timing, and then it returns multiplied. Now that same divine energy you released is coming back, amplified. Every seed of mercy you planted has matured into favor. Every quiet act of love has transformed into open doors. You've proven that true power doesn't come from position. It comes from posture. You stood in humility, but moved with authority, and heaven took note. You didn't just perform kindness, you demonstrated kingdom. And now the realm you represented is sending its rewards not as coincidence, but as confirmation that divine alignment always pays in abundance. Number 13. What you thought was a coincidence was actually a covenant. That moment you thought was random. The encounter, the timing, the exchange was never coincidence. It was a divine appointment disguised as ordinary life. You were living your day unaware that your compassion was signing something in the unseen realm. Every word, every gesture, every ounce of sincerity you offered became ink on a spiritual contract you didn't even know existed. And now that covenant is about to mature. God doesn't need formal signatures to establish destiny. He uses obedience. The way you showed kindness without expectation or awareness of who you were helping was your consent to divine alignment. You fulfilled your part of the agreement before you even knew one had been written. That's how God works. He lets purpose hide behind coincidence so that purity can be tested without contamination. You passed that test effortlessly, not because you knew the outcome, but because compassion is your natural language. The person you helped wasn't placed there by chance. They were part of a spiritual handshake between heaven and earth. Your kindness became a key, unlocking a sequence of blessings already assigned to your name. You didn't see the paperwork, but heaven did. The covenant you entered through selfless action now demands its fulfillment. Divine law requires it. When you act from a pure heart, the universe is obligated to respond. That's why things are shifting in your favor. Now you're not suddenly lucky. You're simply reaping what was already promised. The moment has arrived for what was written to manifest. The covenant you unknowingly stepped into has reached maturity, and the return is due. This isn't repayment for kindness. It's the release of destiny. What you thought was coincidence was God's way of disguising divine transaction. And now the signature of your compassion has unlocked the elevation your spirit has been waiting for. Number 14. You're about to discover that your good deeds were GPS coordinates for blessings. Every act of kindness you gave without reward. Every time you chose to help instead of walk away, you were unknowingly dropping spiritual pins, markers of light in the map of your destiny. Those moments weren't lost, forgotten, or overlooked. They became coordinates in the universe, each one carrying your energy, your intention, and your purity. And now those coordinates have been activated. Everything connected to them, resources, opportunities, favor, and divine connections, is on. It's way back to you. The universe has perfect navigation. It doesn't lose track of goodness, even when time makes it look like nothing happened. Every selfless act carries a signal that heaven can't ignore. You might have moved on, but those actions are still speaking for you in unseen realms. They're calling in people you haven't met yet, doors you haven't knocked on, and outcomes you couldn't have planned. What you gave away in silence has been echoing in eternity. And now, the echoes are returning as open paths and divine timing. You didn't need to chase blessings. You already positioned yourself for them. Your integrity mapped out a trail that leads straight to divine provision. Every time you showed mercy when it was easier to be called, every time you gave without being asked, you were programming a spiritual GPS that knows exactly where to find you. Even in the middle of waiting, even in seasons of obscurity. And now that system is online, everything with your name on it is moving toward you with precision. Delays weren't denials. They were alignment. The universe was waiting for the coordinates to converge. Your character, your timing, your readiness. Now that they have, the delivery is inevitable. You're about to see blessings arrive that trace their origin back to your obedience. You didn't just do good deeds. You gave the universe directions to your destiny, and it has finally arrived at your doorstep. Your journey of kindness wasn't just a series of random acts. It was destiny in motion. Every gesture, every moment of grace, every selfless choice has been quietly building a map to your breakthrough. You didn't need recognition, and that's exactly why the universe recognized you. You didn't act for reward, and that's why heaven is paying back in ways no human could calculate. What seemed small was monumental. What felt ordinary was extraordinary. Every interaction you had, every time you chose integrity over convenience, every time you lifted someone without expectation, you were shaping a future that only the divine could orchestrate. You became more than a helper. You became a force, a spiritual signal, a pivot point in someone else's destiny. And in doing so, you unknowingly aligned your own. The billionaire you assisted wasn't a random figure. They were a reflection, a mirror showing you the depth of your influence. Your compassion was the currency that no money can buy, the signature that sealed a covenant you didn't even know existed, and the GPS coordinates guiding blessings straight back to your doorstep. In a world that profits from selfishness, you became proof that purity still exists. In a life that rewards the loud, you stood humble and let heaven chase you. And now, everything is converging. Your reward, your elevation, your recognition in perfect divine timing. This is the moment your obedience, your faith, and your unwavering heart are finally being honored. The universe has recorded every act of your integrity and is now delivering it multiplied, amplified, and undeniable. You saved more than a life. You restored hope, redirected influence, and activated blessings that will ripple far beyond what you can see today. If this message resonated with you, if it reminded you of your own power to impact lives and align with destiny, then don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel for more truths that awaken your purpose. Like this video to affirm the power of your actions. Comment to share your experiences and share this with someone whose kindness deserves recognition. The universe notices every act of light, and together we can illuminate more paths than ever before. Stay blessed.